Hello and welcome to In Touch with Durham County, the show designed to give you information about Durham County government people, programs, and services. I'm Deborah Craig-Ray, General Manager of Strategic Planning and Innovation. We're still here virtually with you, socially distancing, and bringing you important information. Today, we're so pleased to have as our guest Vice Chair Wendy Jacobs. Vice Chair Jacobs, I am really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, I'm excited to be here with you today, Deborah.
Thanks. And in our second segment, we'll introduce you to our new Durham City County Inspections Director, Thomas Hosey. Tom brings extensive experience in the building and safety profession in his new position. We're looking forward to that conversation as well. So let's begin our conversation. First of all, how have you been?
Well, thank you so much for asking, Deborah. I'm great. I'm so excited. There's like a red bud outside my window. I'm in my new office. We've never had our own offices before as county commissioners, so I'm really excited. We had our first in-person meeting last Monday with our historic all-female board, our historic new black female county manager. So there's just a lot of things to be excited about.
I'm telling you, it's really a record level day and period for Durham County government. So, for those who are new to the community, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your background in public service?
Absolutely. I'm in my third term of office. I was first elected in 2012, but I have been a part of the Durham community for, I hate to say it now, for more than 4 decades. I first came to Durham in 1979 to attend Duke University, was very active in a lot of causes on campus, got involved in the Durham community as a Duke student, started working with Operation Breakthrough in what was then called the St. Teresa neighborhood. It's now called Southside, tutoring kids. I got to see the poverty in Durham up front, which was really compelling to me to want to get involved. I also helped start the coffee house on the Duke campus, which still exists, which was a place where the Duke and the Durham community intersected, and got to meet a lot of leaders in the Durham community at that time, like Eddie Davis and Mandy Carter, and we worked on a lot of different issues together. Like the Greensboro massacre back in 1979, when the Klan opened fire on people in the community, many of them members of the Duke and Durham community. So these were some of the ways that I became very involved in the Durham community. Even as a student, it became very natural for me to then stay on in Durham. When I graduated, I became an educator. Eventually, I taught at Holt School in Durham Public Schools. I'm still an educator at heart and believe that our schools are the center of our communities and that education is the foundation of our democracy. I had 3 children. I met my husband as a Duke student. He is a primary care physician. My 3 children, Caleb, Eliza, and Zach, all attended Durham Public Schools, and I became very engaged as a public school parent with the PTA, site-based committee, and volunteering. And fast forward to about 2005, I was very engaged in my neighborhood, a neighborhood leader, helped lead a campaign to create a 4-government park that is today along Irwin Road called Hollow Rock Nature Park. Learned a whole lot about Durham City government, Durham County government, Chapel Hill Town Council, Orange County government, helping to lead that effort. Got appointed to the Planning Commission after that, and for 6 years. Also chaired the Master Planning Committee for the new park. And so for me, being a county commissioner is just an extension of my passion for the Durham community, wanting to work together with people to make our community better, to solve problems. It really is just a natural extension of how I've really always lived my life. And I like to do things. I consider myself still an activist. I like to respond by taking action and getting things done. And so I ran for office in 2012 because of a controversial issue called the 751 development that I learned about as a member of the Planning Commission. And it's just been an incredible honor and privilege to serve as an elected official in this wonderful community that we live in.
Absolutely. So let's travel back to March 2020. First, Durham County was the recipient of a cyber attack that crippled our systems. And then within that same week, we heard coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic was declared by the World Health Organization. A state of emergency was declared. And so as chair of the Board of Commissioners, what were some of your initial thoughts and what did you do?
Well, Deborah, I remember we did that press conference together. That press conference when I announced the state of emergency for Durham County, and that was a really big deal, declaring a state of emergency, and also because a state of emergency gives the chair of the Board of County Commissioners unprecedented powers. Normally we are a board of 5 commissioners. We all have equal decision-making power. You cannot make a decision without a majority of the board. But in this case, with the state of emergency, I was in a position of being able to make decisions by myself. And that is a curse and a blessing. And at that time, we didn't know what was happening, right? We just know there is this virus, and we didn't know exactly how it was spread. So that first stay-at-home order that I issued back at the end of March, really, the mayor and I were all of us were literally reading the papers every day, news around the world. What do people think this is? What do scientists think this is? And in that order, we did implement very strong precautions beyond the governor and the state about face coverings and about, social distancing and cleaning things before you shared them. That was really the first step, I think, of Durham being out there in front, leading the way as in this country, frankly, as a county. We then, I think it was around April 17th, we implemented a face covering mask mandate, which again, we were one of the first governments to get out there. But I had Duke doctors calling me up every day and saying, look, we're out here on the street giving out face coverings to people. These are physicians that have them in the back of their car. We're going to the bus station and saying, if you don't do this, you are going to be risking people's lives. And so that was something I really pushed the mayor and our public health director on, because at this point it was really, we didn't know, but if it's going to be something that is going to save lives, then we need to do it. And so we did. And I think you can see that in every, one life lost is too much. And we've lost nearly 300 lives in this community. But I think we have saved lives because people in Durham have cared about each other. We have taken the approach that we're all going to look out for each other. We all care about each other. It's our responsibility. And we've been a leader in things like wearing face coverings. But it was Deborah, and as you know, we were just trying, it was a one day at a time thing, right? We were all trying to figure out, pivot, adapt. Our staff were incredible. We moved to a lot of virtual work for as many as our staff, and just keeping people who had to be in person in the office. We equipped people with what they needed, and we really, came together as a community I'm very, very proud of that.
Great job, great job. Now, you and former Mayor Shule created the Recovery and Renewal Task Force. Who was in that group and what was the primary task?
Right. Well, again, this was the mayor and I, our effort to bring the community together, to all of us together with our collective wisdom, expertise, input, to try to figure out the best ways to address this pandemic and also to hear from the community about what was happening on the ground, how it was impacting people's businesses, and what were going to be the best solutions. So we had Matisha Sims, who was one of the vice presidents of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Katie Galbraith, one of our vice president of Duke Regional, agreed to co-chair the Recovery and Renewal Task Force. And then we had many, many leaders of the community, we had Reverend Davis from Nehemiah Church. We had Pilar Roja Goldberg from El Centro, Susan Amy from our tourism agency, Jeff Durham, head of our chamber, just many people representing different sectors in the community. And then I think the most important part was we had many subcommittees, roundtables, barbershops and nail salons, gyms, bars, restaurants, childcare centers, our immigrant and refugee community, our workers. We had religious organizations, and all of these different groups in the beginning were meeting weekly. The realtors, and saying, hey, this is what we're struggling with, this is what we need. And out of that came recommendations for what I think were really transformative programs like Back on the Bull and our Community Health Ambassador program, our food program that partnered with our local restaurants and our farmers and our schools. We just had all of these very collaborative, innovative efforts that came out of the Recovery and Renewal Task Force, because people in Durham know, that this is our ecosystem here. We know how to come together and figure out the most innovative ways to just get things done. That's, I think, really helped us save lives and help support our businesses, get people vaccinated, get information out to the community.
Certainly. And, that was some great work. And of course, the work is not over because the pandemic is not over. It's lessening, and we're going to try to take it one day at a time still. So things like ARPA funding, we got federal infrastructure funding, a new budget year, those are some things that the community has heard a bit about that you and your board are working on. In addition to those, what would you say are a couple of your priorities as we begin to wrap up?
Right, absolutely. Well, the ARPA funding, we still have about $58 million left of that to designate. And the guidance on that is it should be used for transformative investments. And of course, we can spend $58 million just like that. But for me, and I think we've heard from staff and also the community, a few of the really big picture things for me are broadband. We have learned from the pandemic that is a basic need, just like water and electricity. Everybody needs to have access to high-speed internet and the devices. We have parts of our community, especially in the northern part of the county, in rural areas, that this is still an issue. So that is one big priority. Another big priority is something we've been doing called the Bulls Initiative, where we are trying to connect people to the good jobs that we have in our community, especially in life science and biopharma, where we are one of the leaders in the entire country. But we have to address barriers like the people needing to be paid to go to school, the fees, transportation, childcare, all the things that interfere with somebody being able to actually access those jobs. That needs more investment. And then we also have our pre-K program, which is really, very critical, making sure all of our children have a good foundation to lifelong learning and success. Housing, over and over again, we know it's just getting worse. Affordable housing, but also as we're looking at mental health and substance use, we are understanding that you can't address these problems if somebody does not have safe, secure housing. So we need supportive housing. We need housing for people re-entering our community who are just as involved. This is at the root of everything. And then we hear from the community about investing in how we address the root causes of violence, of gang violence, making sure our youth are engaged, and everything that we know that poverty is the root of a lot of the violence in our community. So these take significant investments, and these are the types of things that I hope we will address with the ARPA funding and also with our budget.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, clearly, you all are doing a great deal of work and long hours, long meetings. Quickly, how do you relax, or is it something you do?
Well, thank you, Deborah, for asking me that. I think one of the benefits of the pandemic for all of us has been, we see a lot of conversation about self-care, life-work balance, people re-examining their lifestyle and the Great Resignation, all of that. And so I have really been trying to focus more on that. As you know, Deborah, I work very hard. I'm very passionate about this work and have not always had a good life-work balance. So one of the things I've really been enjoying in the past years is taking walks. I've been walking. I'm blessed to live very close to the Eno River State Park. So, and being in nature, I find very healing, very relaxing, and a big stress relief for me. So I also really enjoy gardening. I don't have as much time for that, but I've been really trying to take a walk every day and
That
listening
sounds
to
good.
music. I love music. I love listening to live music. I get a lot of energy from live performances. So when I'm walking, a lot of times I'm listening to music and just enjoying being out in nature. Thank you for asking that question. And we all have to
Fantastic.
help each other, right? All of our
That's right.
staff, people in our community, it's important that everybody has access to being able to take breaks and exercise and to walk and be in nature. And that's a big priority for me, to make sure that
Yeah.
everyone can do that.
Well, I just want to thank you for your time today. We've just had a great conversation, I think, and I just want to thank you so much for your leadership. I mean, our community is very fortunate that you are here and you helped us through this very difficult period, and you're continuing to do great work for us. It's been fun, and please have a great rest of your week.
Well, thank you, Deborah, and it has been a pleasure to work with you. And I really appreciate everything that you do and everything that our staff has done, especially over the last 2 years, and also the people of our community. We have rallied, we have supported each other, and we need to keep doing that because we aren't over this yet. But I know that we
Right.
will keep being in this all together. And it really is an honor and a privilege to serve as a county commissioner for the people of Durham. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. Don't touch that dial. We'll have our second segment coming up right after this break. We will speak with Thomas Hosey, the new City County Inspections Director. Stay with us.
Do you have prediabetes? North Carolina residents with prediabetes can enroll in a free or low-cost national diabetes prevention program. Trained coaches are standing by. Get started now at joinaprogram.org.
Welcome back to More in Touch. We're pleased to be joined by our new Durham City County Inspections Director. Tom, I am looking forward to our conversation today.
I am as well. A pleasure to be here.
So, if you don't mind, please share a little bit about your professional background prior to joining us. I understand you have more than 30 years of experience.
I do. I've been in the industry for quite some time, had a few gray hairs from it. Most of my career was in California. I headed the department for 4 different jurisdictions in California. Before coming to North Carolina, I was the chief building official in Houston, Texas. Fourth biggest city in the country, and in Texas they think they are a state. Houston, they're the 800-pound gorilla. Most recently, Raleigh. I was the development services director in Raleigh for about 6 years, and then the opportunity here with Durham and the county came up, and I accepted it.
Well, we're delighted to have you with us. So I know inspections is a real critical service in government, building codes and plans and much more. Please describe what an inspections department is responsible for.
Sure. So most people, when they go into a house or a building, they don't even think about it safe. It's just a given. A large part of that is because of my department. What we do is we work with the builders and the developers when they're designing projects. They submit plans to us. We inspect it to make sure it's safe, to make sure it meets the state-adopted codes. There's 5 primary codes that we enforce, which is the building, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and fire code. We do that through the plan review, working with them. Then when they're actually building, then our inspection element goes out in the field many times during the course of construction at different phases to ensure it's being built correctly and per what was designed. And that's all the way from initial submittal to when we final off the project and they release the utilities and get ready for people to use it.
So how large is your staff?
We have a staff of 58. If we were fully filled, we have about 5 vacancies currently.
Okay. Now, how has the pandemic impacted the provision of your services?
Pandemic has accelerated everything. For the last probably 5 years, the industry, being what I do, which is sort of the regulatory function of building, has been going more and more towards electronic plan review, and the pandemic really accelerated that. We are probably 98% everything's electronic right now, and that's not just Durham. I mean, that's literally the whole country. It was the same in Raleigh before I came here. I've only been here a brief time, about 4 months with this jurisdiction. So electronic, developers love it. It works really well. It truly is more efficient. Of course, we're refining the system because we had to put it in place very quickly. But that's truly the biggest impact on the whole industry, nationally as well as locally.
Well, one only needs to just look around in our community and see new construction going up everywhere. How are you guys doing keeping up with the demand?
We're doing our best. Everybody is very busy. We are actually, through the budget process, requesting additional positions, and then, of course, the ability to fill them. It's a big challenge, recruiting and retaining qualified individuals, again, nationally in this profession. There's very few qualified individuals. It's actually an opportunity if people want to get into a good career path. There's lots of opportunity. But we're keeping up with it. We do keep up with it. You just have to be methodical about it as far as scheduling it and ensuring you because 2 things. Developers care about how long it takes. Yeah. Time is money. So we try to work with them as much as possible, but we have to ensure they're doing it correctly. So it's kind of balancing act. But we do it pretty successfully here. I'm happy with the performance of the department.
Well, very good. Now, I know your services are essentially fee-for-service, meaning if someone needs, say, a plumbing inspection, they have to pay for the process. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do not take any general tax money whatsoever. The department is fully self-funded by user fees, which is the fees that the applicants for permits. So the individuals and businesses receiving the service pay for it. There's no money whatsoever from the general tax fund. We're essentially free to the general public.
Now, I know you've not been here that long, but are you planning to make any service changes or improvements? What might that look like?
A couple of things. One of the things we're doing through the budget process is creating what we call an ombuds program. The development process, getting approval all the way to begin, can be complicated, whether you're a big builder doing it all the time with a high rise, or if you're just building a screened in porch, a screened in patio. So the ombuds person actually works as an advocate for the individuals, ensuring that their emails are timely. If there's a challenge they run into, that the correct people get into the room, virtually or physically, to keep their projects moving. Another big thing is all of our inspectors are single trade. And what that means is if you build a single family house and you're at the rough stage, which is when you see all the wood, the framing, you can see the pipes for the plumbing, the wires for electrical, we send out an electrical inspector with one vehicle, one truck, a building inspector, one vehicle, one truck, the same with mechanical, the same with plumbing. The developer has to schedule 4 different inspections, coordinate all this. So I'm making a big push to create multi-trade inspectors who carry all licenses. It'll be much more efficient, better for the builders, and far more efficient for the county and the city.
That sounds good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, yeah.
So, imagine I'm building my home and my contractors are finished. I assume someone from your office visits and says the home is safe to live in. So yes, I get something that says I can do so, right? A certificate of occupancy or something?
Yes, that's exactly right. At the very end of it, you're building a house, you've gone through the plan review, we've looked at it, we've had builders out there, inspectors out there at least a dozen times, ensuring that it's being built right, and then we do a final inspection. And again, the inspectors come out, they make sure that everything's working correctly, it's safe. Your electrical is not arcing and sparking, causing a shock hazard. Your plumbing or mechanical is not going to make you sick, which is one of the reasons we're involved in that, so it's put together. And you get a certificate of occupancy, which basically says, to the best of our knowledge, it meets all these safety requirements, and you can occupy it.
Now, I heard you say earlier you had some vacancies. So I imagine you're looking for some staff.
Yes.
What are you looking for in terms of staff? What do you need?
Well, we need plan reviewers, we need inspectors, we could even use some administrative staff, but primarily inspectors and plan reviewers on the technical side is very challenging to find qualified individuals. Another program where it's its infancy, I'm trying to develop basically a mentoring apprenticeship program to sort of grow our own. We can also reach out to sort of disenfranchised areas, give people a viable career path, and come up with highly trained, valuable staff for the city and the county. So that's another program that's in its infancy that I'm looking at. Obviously, that requires funding and all those good things. So we're looking at how we can do that.
Yeah. Well, obviously some really great ideas, and I know you're going to make things happen. We're about out of time. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
No, it's just if anybody ever has a question or any concerns about anything, they're going to build or construct, feel free to reach out to the department. We're more than happy to advise, give information, explain how it works and what's needed.
Well, again, we want to thank you for joining us, for coming across the line, if you will, and working in Durham County. And we appreciate all you do and your staff as well. And we're going to have you on the show again.
Okay, sounds good. Again, I appreciate meeting with you. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Well, that wraps up today's show. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time on In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.